And now for my next number, I'd like to return to the
classic. Time.
Hey everyone, it's Alex back again. I'm joined with my girlfriend Jenny.
Hi.
I'm gonna do the tag that James Griffiths has started on your first albums. So it'd be questions like your first live album and things like that. So I've got Jenny with me. She's going to read out the questions, so I better pass you my phone because the questions are on there. Some of the answers I may have had to have changed slightly or bend the question slightly. And for some I may double up or have two answers for some of them, but I'm jumping on this thread, so let's get straight into it.
First question. The first record you got by your favourite band or artist?
I'm gonna do my favourite band and my favourite artist for this one.
Okay.
Because that's what I feel like doing. So my favourite band, for those who don't know, is Arctic Monkeys. AM is the first album I bought from them, mainly because it's the album that introduced me to them. I obviously had it on CD back when it came out. It won 4 Brits the following year, 2014. Yeah, it's just a very, very good album, very solid in my opinion. One of their best for sure. And then my favourite artist is Stevie Wonder. And so Hotter Than July is the first Stevie Wonder album I bought, mainly because it's got Master Blaster jamming on it, it's got Happy Birthday on it. Yep. It's got Rocket Love on it, All I Do is on this album. It's just a very, very good album. And at the time I was buying vinyl, but I didn't have any Stevie Wonder on vinyl or CD. So I had to get some, and this was the first one I picked out to get.
Question number 2. The first debut album you ever owned?
First debut album I ever owned. And this is going right back to when I wasn't buying vinyl, but when I was buying CDs. Back when I was like 11 or 12, this was one of my favourite bands, and so Linkin Park's Hybrid Theory is the first debut album I think I ever bought. Obviously with songs like Crawling, One Step Closer With You, In the End. Great song, but yeah, this is that album for me, the first debut that I ever bought.
Question number 3. What's your first live album?
First live album. Again, this is skipping right the way through to when I was buying vinyl, because I don't think I bought any live albums on CD originally. I think I might have one, but I haven't got it with me apparently. But that wasn't even the first live album I bought anyway. It's Louis Armstrong.
Whenever I used to read that name, I used to read it as Lewis. Fun fact for you.
Full name of this album, are you ready? Gene Norman presents an evening with Louis Armstrong and his All-Stars in concert at the Pasadena Civic Auditorium. That is the full name of this album. Bought it on a whim because it was Louis Armstrong. Don't spin it much because it's jazz, and my girlfriend's not a huge fan of jazz. But I really liked this album, so...
Question number 4. Your first greatest hits album?
This album right here. And this...
That was mine as well.
Is it? Really?
Yeah.
That's coincidence, isn't it?
Yeah.
Well, weird.
Yeah.
But yeah, I originally had this on CD. I think this was the first CD I ever bought, because I remember I did some gardening work for some people, and I was saving up my own money so I could buy some stuff, and I bought a CD. And Eminem's Curtain Call, The Hits, was the first CD I bought. I bought this and something else, but this was the first CD I picked out. And because I was just discovering Eminem for the first time, I thought, oh, I'll get a greatest hits. It'll be a nice way to get into his music, and I liked every single song off this album. So obviously that got me into it more, wanted to discover him, and just turned me into a hardcore fan. But this album you might also see later on again in the video. But yeah, this is the first greatest hits album that I ever bought.
Question number 5. sorry, I nearly choked myself.
Choking on your own tongue.
Oh, you threw me off now. Question number 5. Your first double album.
This album, again, because I was buying CDs, originally there weren't a lot, I wasn't buying a lot of double CDs. There were a lot of albums I bought that might have been doubles if they were on vinyl. But when it comes to buying vinyl, Dr. Dre's Chronic 2001 is the first double album that I bought. I don't think I even had this on CD when I had CDs. I just remember listening to a lot of songs off this individually, so I wanted it on vinyl, and yeah, I definitely prefer this to Dr. Dre's first album.
Question number 6. The first legendary or classic album or single that you ever owned.
Marvin Gaye's Let's Get It On. This
That's on my head every single time I hear his name.
This album, I consider this legendary because I'm a huge fan of Marvin Gaye. But this is the first album I did own from him. So I
think I spat at you by mistake.
That's alright, thanks. But yeah, this album is definitely the first legendary album that I owned. If not, then it's definitely a classic. But yeah, I consider this legendary, but that is the first one that I owned.
Question number 7. The first record that you ever received as a gift, Christmas or birthday, etc.
Because I was about 3 weeks away from turning 19 when I started buying records.
Oh, sorry.
Was it album or record? Sorry, the question.
Record.
Yeah.
First, what was the first record that you ever received as a gift, like for Christmas or your birthday or something?
Well, mine would have been Christmas because I was about 3 weeks away from turning 19 when I started buying vinyl, and I don't think anybody really knew that I was going to get into it or was into it at the time. So Steely Dan's Countdown to Ecstasy is the first gift I received as a Christmas gift.
Question number 8. What was the first record you ever got which disappointed you?
Mine, again, I'm going to have to...
Really bad English.
I know. Mine's going to have to be a little bend on the question. I'm going to have to bend it slightly because I wasn't so much disappointed in this album. It's just not what I was expecting. Stevie Wonder's Where I'm Coming From. Because I'm a massive fan of Stevie and like everything he's put out, I was expecting to love everything on this album, and it just didn't quite reach my expectations. There were like 2 or 3 songs maybe I enjoyed off this album, but everything else I didn't really click with it right away. I like it a lot more now than what I used to, but this is that album that sort of didn't really disappoint me but didn't reach my expectations, because it wasn't a disappointing album. It was still good because it was Stevie Wonder and I still liked it, but it wasn't my favourite from Stevie Wonder.
Question number 9. What was the first record you ever owned by an artist you would later go on to collect seriously?
I had to really think about this one because there are a few that I had. But this band is one I never thought I would collect seriously. Like maybe 1 or 2 albums if I liked them, but because I seem to like everything from AC/DC now. For those about to rock, We Salute You is the album that I bought on a whim because it was the name AC/DC and I knew the name.
Yeah.
And I liked the cover because I was in the Isle of Wight when I bought this. It was kind of because of all the landmarks we'd seen, all the castles and everything. It sort of fitted where I was, so that's why I got it. And I listened to this and I liked everything I heard. And from there, I just wanted to buy everything AC/DC. And while the stuff has been a lot harder to find since Angus Young passed away, I still get everything I can that I don't have already. So yeah, AC/DC is for those about to rock. And salute you.
Question number 10. What was the record that first introduced you to a specific musical genre?
Genre.
Excuse me.
Yeah, Herbie Hancock's Headhunters. I'm gonna say jazz fusion for this, but it could come under jazz funk as well. Because I was already into a little bit of jazz, this got me more into jazz. Because obviously with like Louis Armstrong, I liked it, but I didn't love it. And then this sort of introduced me to another side of jazz that I really liked, the jazz funk side of things. And yeah, I mean, I really like the cover. This was the album that introduced me to jazz funk and a whole different side of jazz that I really, really liked. So yeah, Herbie Hancock's Headhunters.
Question number 11, sorry.
11. Where's Jenny?
Question number 11. What was the first record that you home taped?
Again, I'm going to have to bend this question ever so slightly. Because I've never home taped anything.
Don't believe in it, do you?
No, it's not something that I really believe in doing. Because most new albums come with a free download now anyway. CDs you can easily rip, and vinyl. I just love the sound of it, and I just don't believe in home taping. The only reason I've done it in the past is when I was in college and I was doing music technology, and because we were making our own music and I was making my own beats for rap and hip hop and things like that. I needed samples from other songs, and because I found a sample I really wanted to use and there wasn't a decent copy of it online, and I didn't have a CD, I had to record it off my vinyl copy. But that's the only reason I've taped anything straight off a vinyl. Ship Ahoy by the OJs is technically that album. I know there's a story behind it. I know it doesn't really count as home taping because it's only part of one song, but that's the closest I can say that I've come to taping anything.
See, I have taped.
Yeah?
Yeah, it was my dad's song, and he obviously knew about it. It was my dad's song because he's an artist, and he was the one that helped me do it. And so I have.
I will link the song down below.
Not my version.
Not Jenny's version, her dad's version.
Question number 12. What was the first record you ever bought on someone else's recommendation?
I had to really think about this one because I get recommended a lot of stuff, like on a weekly basis. But this is sort of the first one that I really remember. Black Ivory's Don't Turn Around is my answer for this. It is the earliest album that I remember getting recommended to me. Very, very smooth soul. I think it's from the 60s originally or 70s. But this is like a reissue, obviously, because this album fetches for a lot of money.
Question number 13. First record. What was the first record your parents disapproved of?
I talked about the album earlier. Eminem's Curtain Call.
My parents hated Eminem, and they also hated Linkin Park. Actually, my dad didn't mind.
My parents hated anything rap. And because this was rap, and with Eminem's controversial lyrics, they hated it even more.
I'm not sure that I would like my child to be listening to Eminem either, to be fair.
I was 13 at the time.
Exactly at that age.
But yeah, I did. I would play this album like 4 or 5 times a day.
Question number 14. What was the first record that made you lose your mind?
I've told this story, I think, before on my channel a few times. But I'll try and tell it again really.
Zed Zeppelin. No, Zed.
Yeah, Zed Zeppelin.
I meant Led Zeppelin.
Zed Zeppelin.
Oh my god, I really struggled to say it.
Led Zeppelin. Their first album. I've told the story before on my channel a few times, but I'll try and quickly explain it again.
Sounds right.
I was only going through a phase of listening to what I liked and not kind of experimenting a bit with my tastes, and so I thought I wouldn't like Led Zeppelin because they were what everyone else was listening to, so I didn't want to really listen to them, but I bought the album because it was cheap around about Christmas time, and I put the needle on side 1 onto Good Times, Bad Times, and my jaw dropped. Like, literally, my jaw did drop, and that's the day I vowed never to overlook any genre of music ever again. They pretty much changed the way I listen to music, because now they're the reason I listen to anything.
Moving on to question 15. What was the first record that you saw in someone else's collection?
Again, this is going back to before I was
I think that means that you bought. I think it means.
No, the first one you saw in someone else's collection. That I might have bought, but
Okay.
I didn't buy this at the time because I very, very much overlooked this band, and now they are one of my favourite bands. But this is going back to when I wasn't making videos. I was watching other people's collections, see what they had, and there's one band that kept cropping up. It's the 1975. I overlooked this band so much because everyone was showing them, and I wasn't a fan at the time. I'm a huge fan now. Like, I love their music now, don't I?
Yeah.
But at the time, I just wasn't into their music, and because everyone was showing them, and I just thought they were one of those, because it was being shown in the same collections as people that would buy, like, Blink-182. So I thought it was along those sort of lines. So
It's very pop.
it's very, very much very poppy, and yeah. Now that I'm a fan, I have this album, so that is the first album I saw in someone else's collection.
Question number 16. What was the first record you had difficulty tracking down?
The first record I had difficulty tracking down, and it's not an uncommon album. Lionel Richie's first album, called Lionel Richie. Here's the thing, this is not an uncommon album, this is a very common album. But in my area, I never saw it. And as soon as I found a copy and got my hands on one, I see it everywhere.
It's always the way, innit?
It's always the way. As soon as I tracked one down, I saw it everywhere. But yeah, it was used in an episode of Friends. But yeah, this is the first album I had difficulty tracking down. It was a bitch to track down, but it was obviously, once I found one, I was well annoyed that they kept popping up. As you would be, because it took me well over a year and a half to find a copy. And then as soon as I find one, 15 more show up.
Question 17. What was the first record that you bought a second copy of? Like that, it was that good that you bought a second copy of?
That.
Before I was even finished.
I know. Talking about Stevie Wonder. At the time, it was my favourite Stevie Wonder album. It's one I don't listen to as much anymore, but here's the thing with this album. I wanted the mobile fidelity copy of it because I wanted every Stevie album I could get, but different copies of each, and this was sort of the first one I went out and bought. It's not my favourite Stevie album anymore, it's up there, but it's not my favourite anymore. It's still a good one, don't get me wrong, but yeah, that's the first album I doubled up on. I don't like doubling up on a lot of stuff, but I don't mind because it's Stevie Wonder.
Question number 18. What was your first blind buy?
My first blind buy, ironically, was also the first album I ever bought on vinyl. Shirley Bassey, Never Never Never.
I thought her name was Shirley Bassett.
Shirley Bassey. Again, going back to my college days, because I was making beats out of samplers, so I was looking for stuff I could use, and I bought this purely because of the cover. Didn't know what it was. Really liked it, even though it's a covers album. But this was my first blind buy. And that's the thing with college. This is a story I've never told anybody, not even my parents. But they would give me money every week for college, for lunch.
And then you went and bought records.
I'd never eat. Once I discovered my love for vinyl, I'd go out every Tuesday and buy vinyl. It meant I would be hungry for the rest of the week, but I'd have 2 or 3 new records that I could listen to for the rest of that week. So I was happy.
See where his priorities are, aren't they?
At the time, yeah.
What was the first record that you bought after becoming involved with the VC?
I had to go back over my second ever video to find this one out because I couldn't remember. And looking back at that video, I have noticed a drastic change in quality since then. But this reissue of the Gorillaz Demon Days is the first album I bought after becoming an official member of the VC. Not a huge Gorillaz fan, I will point that out, but there's a few songs I like, and this album I actually really love from them, so I wanted to get a nice reissue.
Question 20, last question. It is, what was the first record you bought by mail order?
First album by mail order? Actually, this is funny because this is my first ever video. Until about 3 months ago, it was my most viewed video on the channel. This album by Cigarettes After Sex, their first album. This was the first album I ever bought mail order because I'm very much into supporting local businesses, so I only wanted to buy from local record stores.
You got that from your mum, didn't you?
Yeah, I did. That's my mum's thing. She loves supporting local businesses, and so I do as well. But when I bought this online, because it was the only, because I knew no local record stores would stock this. I bought it online, and this was kind of started my obsession with buying new albums that came out online. But yeah, this album, Cigarettes After Sex, first album I bought. Mail order. So is that the 20 questions?
That is 20 questions.
That's brilliant. We are done with this video. Guys, thanks so much for watching. She knows me too well. You can tell. The fact she mimics me and already knows what I'm going to say. But yeah, we're done with this video. James Griffiths did this originally. I saw the one that Beth did over at B-Side Records. I saw her do this. I saw Brandon do this as well, Mr. Hall of Fame. I saw their responses and I had to jump on it. So yeah, there we go. So thanks so much for watching this video. Please subscribe if you're not already. We're not going to beg you for this outro, I'm telling you. I'll see you guys again very soon.
See you guys very soon.
Peace!